Let me tell you guys about BellyUpSports. BellyUpSports is the internet sports bar. Go ahead and check out their website, www.bellyupsports.com, to read some great articles from great writers all across the country, from hockey, baseball, golf, soccer, you name it. BellyUpSports is the premier, not your average website.
You know what? I have to apologize to Canada. We all said our piece. We thought this team was gonna get grouped. I really thought Chile was gonna bring it in this tournament. They brought something. Not necessarily a game, but they brought something. As well as Peru. I don't think those were easy matchups per se for Canada, but still, to handle their business against them, and then to make it to get not only get out of the group, but then get into the semifinal, to go and have a second shot at Argentina. Applause to Canada, and honestly, applause to Jesse Marsch, for him to be able to get something out of this team. Obviously another reason for me to want to just kind of be more mad at U.S. soccer, because obviously, Jesse Marsch was a very appealing name for a lot of the American fans. I kind of was mentioning he's a little overrated at times. But, also kind of what I mentioned is Canada and Jesse Marsch need each other right now to perform, because both of them have been receiving a lot of criticism. Once again, Canada, not necessarily, I'm not going to say it's a golden generation of Canadian players, but you obviously have more and more Canadian influence in Europe, kind of gaining there in Europe. But then also MLS, there's a lot of Canadian players that are getting their names shouted out. And so you kind of have this rise right now with Canada as being now not just that other team from North America. Now they're more as a threat. And Jesse Marsch, a guy that just needs to have a good coaching stint. So I think that with those two together, you had a very positive Copa America, being the fact that you're the only CONCACAF team to get into the semifinal. So I think that there's a lot of positives for Canada. I don't think that they're necessarily still a threat to USA or Mexico. But
sure about that?
I'm kind of regretting saying those words. But
I feel a jersey bet coming on. Is that what I just?
No,
heard?
I'm not. No, I'm still firm with the Vinny though. Maybe I mentioned Vinny, but actually, ball door wide open apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think respect to Jesse Marsch, he did a great job in Canada. Yeah, no one in this podcast had any faith in Canada.
Well, hold on. I did.
Did you have him coming out of the group?
Yeah, I had him coming in second in the group.
Oh shit! All right.
Yeah. I don't know how I pulled that one off, because I remember making the comment when we did it, and I was like, this is just going to be a shot in the dark, because who knows, somebody's going to get lucky.
I mean,
I was wrong. They were actually really good.
It was a very open group for second place, and I think Chile, Peru, and Canada all had their but kind of thing going on for them. Like, there's some appeal to each one, but it's not necessarily enough to secure that second place spot. But Canada. Yeah. I think of all the CONCACAF teams have a lot of positive things to come out of it, being that they're the ones that got the furthest in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, this team is shocking for most everybody out there. I mean, if I had placed a bet on Canada getting out, yes, I picked them on the preview show, but I kind of picked them by flipping a couple coins. I mean, it was kind of the odd man out, and it just happened to be the one that had Canada written on, type of thing. And that's how it's shocking they got there. I think even you had them as your team with the most pressure going into this. Mm-hmm. And so it's, you look at it, and that's a huge look at what they had to deal with getting into this tournament. And starting this tournament, you draw Argentina. We already know all the issues there. Canada absolutely showed up and were ready to perform from top to bottom. And I stand by my Jonathan Osorio take. Still don't trust him at all. But the rest of your team, including Shackelford, who, by the way, just might have made himself a nice little paycheck in the English Championship League, or maybe even a lower tier Premier League team going forward. I don't see why he's not going to get picked up. I mean, he played an excellent tournament. He was all over the field, all the way in I mean, the third place match alone. I mean, his name popped up for 95 of the 100 minutes he was in the game. It was absolutely impressive, top to bottom for Canada. You said Jesse Marsh is, Jesse Marsh. Looking at Jesse Marsh right now and thinking to where the U.S. national team was looking at him instead of Greg Berhalter, and you just sit there and wonder what would have happened had the U.S. made the right decision and not hired Berhalter back up and given Jesse Marsh the opportunity. And mind you, we also cut Marcelo Bielsa from the running, who also had Uruguay up there in the third place game. But I digress on that one. But yeah, look, Canada, Jesse Marsh, good for them. Good for Jesse Marsh. I know he said he doesn't want to leave, but if I'm the U.S. Soccer Federation, I'm opening a blank check and handing it over to him, being like, sir, time to come make the changes you want to happen to U.S. soccer, because what else you got to lose right now? Jurgen Klopp already said no. So, yeah, Canada, though, if he stays, this team continues to perform, stays healthy. Alphonso Davies continues on his trajectory where he's at. I think this team is bound for greatness in CONCACAF. I'd even say right now they're a competitor for the top three. I mean, I'd say they're probably number one right now as far as most competitive CONCACAF team, because given the U.S. doesn't have a manager, given Mexico's crashing and burning.
Also, Jimmy Lozano also got fired. So
yeah. So at this point in time, there's not very many positives coming out of CONCACAF teams, and I'd say Canada's the number one right there for me. There's superstars everywhere else, but Canada's so good.
No, you have a valid point. I think I'm just trying to be biased for as a U.S. fan, but not Canada's.
That went out the window after game 2.
That's true. That's very fair. No, yeah, you're right. Jesse Marsh. I will say this. I feel like there's gonna be a gratitude. Like he's gonna be very grateful to Canada for giving him his opportunity. Like I mentioned, he needed a bounce back. Canada needed, and you mentioned Alphonso Davies, and I think Alphonso Davies obviously has to be the leader of this team. Crepo, solid goalkeeping. I think a lot of the structural defense that we saw from Canada is also probably a fair reason as to why they made it far to all the way to the semifinal. But the other thing that I kind of want to mention as well is just Jonathan David finally, I feel like, is finding his groove with Canada. And so I think that's something that's a big plus for them. I know that he kind of had to play second fiddle to Kyle Larin for quite some time, but I think he's definitely finding his groove now with Canada, which I think that's a very important thing for Canada.
Yeah, I think you're right, and he's huge for moving forward for them. One guy I think that team really needs to step up and really start performing, Tajon Buchanan, obviously getting injured in the knockout stage there. But nonetheless, as far as talent goes, he has all the talent to play. He just never seems to be able to put it in the Canadian team. It's similar to what we saw with Jonathan David up until this tournament. It felt like, yes, the man is talented. Yes, he's playing at a top French league team for Jonathan David, but he was never able to put it together. And now we actually see him putting it together. And I think Tajon Buchanan is the next one where I look at and I'm like, this guy something needs to happen for him to do well. And then an unsung hero for that team, man, Kone. I think what he was able to do in the midfield and helping to drive the attack forward as that second, third man getting into the box, that was impressive, and just kind of marshaling everything. He was in a pivot in the midfield, so playing box to box legitimately. It was impressive to see, and he's a young guy who's still growing into his own talents. Had a great goal in the third place game, but beyond that, it was a lot of his talents, a lot of his tackles that helped that team out. So, yeah, Canada's got a lot of bright spots. So I don't know if I'm as a fan of another team in CONCACAF, I'm a little nervous about dealing with Canada on September 4th. I think is when the U.S. plays. So, yeah,
is that Nations League again?
If so, we're getting knocked out game 1.
We don't have World Cup qualifiers to worry about anymore. But yeah, so all right, yeah, Canada, applause to them.